Something that's really interested me in the past week is old game console rumors you'd see posted around on forums and boards that had next to no merit. Easily the best parts of these posts, besides the complete lack of any credible sources or information about how the console would run, would be these insane fake renders of what the consoles would look like. I think the shining example of this culture of sorts was this video uploaded in 2008. I'm like 99% sure it was completely bait, but these renders and ideas were things that some people actually believed. Well, okay, I don't know about the iBox or the Wii phone, but one thing I know for sure is that the Xbox 720 was a real thing that people actually thought would come out. In hindsight, it's not an insane thought, just how Sony would eventually make a PS4 or a PS5, Microsoft would make an Xbox 3, but that wouldn't really be a good naming scheme. Xbox to Xbox 360 to Xbox 3? So Xbox 720 was the name to choose. I'm glad they didn't go with 720 because honestly as a name it's really stupid. It's on the same level as thinking Super Mario 65 is going to come out because of the name Super Mario 64. Then again, Microsoft actually decided to name a console Xbox Series X, even though they had the project name Scarlet, so who's to say how bad a name really is? Alright, so here it is, the Xbox 720, and also this, and also this, and this one too. Listen, there were a lot of insane renders, but what sucks is that with these leaks and renders, there's never rumors for specs. I mean, it's not a big deal, that just means I can't point and laugh at insane spec lists like 4K, 144 FPS in the year 2010 or something. What I can point and laugh at instead is the insanely impractical designs on screen. Why this? Like, I understand it's kind of like the Xbox button on the controller, but this disc reader is pretty much impossible to use, and it'd be insane to imagine actually putting this in a living room or on a desk and trying to fit it around an aesthetic. That seems to be the common denominator among all of the Xbox 720 renders. Impractical, insane design. Like, all of these are nearly unusable. I don't understand how anyone actually fell for these at all. I also don't understand how anyone thought there was ever going to be an Xbox portable, especially in 2007 to 2010. The PSP 3000 came out in 2008 and was a bit more powerful than a PS2, and the 3DS came out in 2011 and was, well, the 3DS. These aren't exactly powerhouses and come nowhere near being able to run an Xbox 360 game. I assume that was the reason this rumor was mostly used just to make fun of anyone who believed in it, because you'd have to be kind of an idiot to believe that was a possibility back then. If I'm going to touch on the naming schemes for Xbox consoles, then I definitely at least have to mention that I much prefer the naming scheme for PlayStation. It's nothing extra, it's just really simple and to the point. PlayStation 2, 3, 4, 5, and eventually 6 when everyone watching this video is like 30. In that sense, it's nice to know that every single PS4 rumor was technically correct, and the fact that, yes, it will be named the PS4. It's the usual suspects for these rumors, as we have a multitude of renders that look impractical or just objectively terrible to even think about using. Like, I think you can look at this and understand why this would be stupid if it was real without me talking to you about it. What's really interesting though is that in a lot of these articles, the PS4 rumors came with the citation that it might not exist at all. This was because at the time the PS3 was like a complete failure and people actually thought that Sony was just going to leave the console market entirely. In hindsight, we know that's not the case at all, especially with the PS4's domination of its generation, but it's an interesting look back to when people thought that was the case. Speaking of things that weren't going to exist at all, the Wii phone. I don't think I even need to elaborate on this. Why would anyone want to buy a Wii phone? Like, something that actually had some form of merit was the GameCube portable. Yes, I know the GameCube is technically already portable. At the time, even though it was a rumor that could have been considered, it got shot down because ultimately, why would they do that when the Wii has GameCube backwards compatibility and every single person ever was buying a Wii at the time? What's more fascinating though is that through leaks, people found proposals for a GameCube portable that also had a dock to connect it to the TV, which is pretty similar to a certain console I'll be mentioning later. Once again, a lot of people went with the PlayStation approach for leaks and just assumed that because the Wii was so successful that there would inevitably be a Wii 2, which again isn't entirely wrong, but we all know how the Wii U turned out. According to a quote from Shigeru Miyamoto in this article, the Wii 2, or what was essentially supposed to be the Wii U, was originally meant to have nearly the same functionality as a Wii, but in a more compact and cost-efficient way so that it would be cheaper. I can understand why they ultimately didn't go with that idea, and how the Wii U ended up being like $50 more than the Wii, but honestly, the more I try and think about how they handled the Wii U in general, the more years are shaved off my life. Circling back around to the Switch, the ultimate dumbass rumor that truly fooled everyone, and I mean everyone, me included, included, was that we were actually going to get a Switch Pro this year. What makes me even more mad is that it makes sense to make a Switch Pro. The Switch, on release in 2017, was already behind in power compared to the other consoles on the market. I mean, a lot of the more graphically demanding games on the Switch already struggled to hit a consistent 60 FPS, or even 30 at times. So if there were any consoles that honestly should have had a refresh, it was definitely the Switch. Fast forward to 2021, and we're 3.5 years in with only a bunch of rumors about a Switch Pro, and then randomly Nintendo drops a refresh of the Switch. Instead of giving us something like better performance, higher resolution, DLSS, hell, even native Bluetooth on a portable handheld console, by the way, we instead got an extra 32 gigabytes of storage, a 7-inch OLED screen, and an Ethernet port that replaced a USB port. And also, how could you forget the wide stamp? If you don't already own a Switch, I can see buying this and spending the extra $50 because clearly this is the Switch that Nintendo wanted to release in the first place. But if you already own the Switch, then there's literally no reason to upgrade. Now we're past the announcement of the OLED, and even though Nintendo has stated that they have absolutely no plans to launch any other model of the Switch at this time, Switch Pro rumors are still happening. I don't know exactly what was lost in translation, or if maybe people just assumed and it eventually turned into a fact that was parroted, but two of the most prominent things in leaks was that the Switch Pro would have improved performance and to a greater degree would have 4K support while docked. I can understand from a business decision not having greater performance. No one really wants to go out and spend another $300 on a brand new Switch model so they can finally play games at a consistent 60 FPS, but the 4K upscaling support thing seemed like a shoo-in. I can't see a reason for the leaks to have been wrong about something like that when they were right on almost everything else. So I personally still believe, despite Nintendo's statement, that we're eventually going to get a Switch Pro, but at this point I'm done guessing as to when. It comes out when it comes out. Also, just to mention this, since I know it isn't specifically a console rumor, but how have we not learned our lesson anyway at all? We get one little drip of a rumor that Game Boy games might be coming to Nintendo Switch Online, and already it's news that's posted by actual publications. I'll at least give the rumors the benefit of the doubt that they're much more believable than Nintendo adding N64 or GameCube games to NSO, but we have got to stop setting ourselves up like this. You know it, I know it, we're literally just making ourselves disappointed for no reason.